back on the slide.
Sure.
I want to go over the BMR identification for units that were formerly rent-controlled units.
Yes.
And if I understand, tell me if I understand this right. Under the 30%, 12% would be aimed at 55%.
Correct. The program as it is now.
As it's drafted currently.
Yeah, as in its current form.
In
Yes.
its current form. And then 18% would be at up to 140% of AMI.
120 or 140, depending rental or owner. Yep.
So it could be both. It
Yeah.
could be a range.
Well,
So, okay, let me see. Does the property owner designate those, or, in other words, the property owner that say built several hundred units and there's 100 units that used to be rent controlled, who in the city or does the private property owner designate which units qualify for which category?
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's also condos in that world, I guess, but the mayor's office of housing has a whole book about how they regulate BMRs.
I mean, who's going to do it? Is it going to be the property owner?
So the
developer?
property owner and the city negotiate. You can't have like all the BMRs on the ground floor and all the market rate at the top. You have to have the same number, same size. You can't, they have to be the equal number of 2 and 1,
Yes.
spread throughout the building.
comparable finishes. You have to have the like equitable mix of 1, 2s, and 3s, the different bedroom types. So
So they could be staged and it could be bracketed up.
sure.
I mean, they couldn't put them all at 140% available, right? Is there a ratio?
The local program requires 12% be, let's say it's a
But the other
resident.
18%, the other 18, who gets decides what that breakdown is?
It's very simple. If it's rental, it's 120, and if it's an ownership product, it's 140.
So there's nothing in between BMR and 120. There's nothing really for that range of incomes. Or is it?
Well,
There's
so-
this amazing chart that I didn't bring today that shows you like our current BMR program does 55 and 90, and then we're adding 120 and 140. So we're just trying to fill the ladder out. And then the lower income are the subsidized units. So those do 34, 55.
Yeah, so we have existing programs that serve the group you're talking about.
No, I'm just wondering.
But I will point out that that is still a very difficult population to serve, and because we don't get tax credits or other sources to help us with it, we are still underserving that population. But we're also underserving this population, and you know, this program is designed to serve a very specific population within our city.
I guess the question is, if it goes from 55 to 120 on a rental, is every unit going to be at 120? So if people are at 100% or 95% or 105, they won't qualify? That's the question. They won't be able to afford it because it'll be at 120, and if it's ownership, it's at 140. So somebody that's at 120 can't afford the 140. So aren't the builders going to just build to the top category? It would make sense if I were a builder to try to build to. Am I wrong?
So you can never build them all at 140. No.
I mean,
You get to build
18%.
18%
Go on, talk.
at 140, and then in that same building, 12% at 90. So the idea,
90.
Well, yeah. So folks, just a little,
Between 90 and 140.
if I could just as a little primer. So for rental, it's 55% AMI in the base level, 120% AMI at the middle level. If it's an ownership, meaning the whole thing's a condo, then it would be 90% at the base level right now, and then 140 at the higher level. You are correct in pointing out that this program, if you are 120% of area median income and this is a condo product, this isn't the program that's serving that area. And I understand people have a concern about that, but we do have other programs that do serve those, people at that income level.
So who decides if it's rental or condo?
The developer does.
So even the rent control units could all be replaced by condos in your one-for-one replacement at BMR?
BMR condos.
BMR condo.
BMR condo. close.
And can the owner later on sell?
Can we get people raise their hand?
I mean, do they operate like a condo that needs a down payment? Is there a consideration for that?
That is one of the details that we're working through. I think there's sort of a mixed feeling about how to move forward with that, whether it is a nonprofit taking those BMR units and running them as rental, which I think is a great solution, or whether the right to return is transferred to another rental product.
But as you can tell, there are a lot of intricacies with the issue, and we are looking and sorting through them. And we'll have at the substitute legislation
I'm gonna do a
some
stack.
responses.
George, I don't know your name yet.
Gus.
Gus, and then the one in the back, and then Hiroshi, and then I don't know your name, and then you. So they all go
Take it
different.
away, George.
All right, thank you. First off, I don't think the Napa case really triggered anything for the city. If you read the law, you'll see that. But that's one issue. The other thing is the city is doing what they want based off of state law, which started in 1979. My real point here is size of unit. What you guys are doing, you're upselling the entire city. So what you're doing also is you're getting rid of the specifications of the code, which says how large a single bedroom is, how large is a double bedroom. So what you're really doing here with all these, to me the real question here, everybody's talking about BMR, is how big is your BMR apartment now? Right now you know what your rent-controlled apartment is, but you may have a 288 square foot apartment now. To get the 9 units, that might be very small. You're talking about a 2-bedroom, as if it's the answer to moderate income housing in the city for families to live here. They could easily be 750 units. And so, 750 square feet. So the point I'm trying to make to everybody here is the question to ask yourself is they're building density. They're building density that's going to be extraordinarily small. This density is on soft serve areas. They have to tear down buildings. That means they have to tear down and they have to rebuild buildings. And what happens to the businesses that were at the base of the soft serve? You have a lot of questions here that were not answered tonight. And I think what the city really has to do is start defining how big these units really are. Because we're also hung up on AMI. I don't agree with some of the AMI stuff either that was said tonight, but I don't want to bore everybody. But the real question is, how big is your apartment going to be? And, you know, you don't want to be going to the bathroom making breakfast, you know. It's like,
You can run that on YouTube.
So this is a common refrain we've heard from folks about the size of the units that are going to be created. So it's certainly something we're hearing from a lot of people.
Are you actually going to do something about it?
Well, I'll say we have the 2-bedroom.
Yeah, we have a 40% 2-bedroom requirement.
But how big
But
is it?
there's no such requirement, is there?
There's no size requirement.
The building code has a size requirement for units. I don't know
But
what those are.
person, that will be waived under this new policy.
No.
Yes, it will.
Those are life safety requirements, and so we're not.
No. I'm not going to fight with the planner, but that's wrong.
Gus, right?
Gus. So, hi everyone, Gus Hernandez. I'm president of the Alpha Square Neighborhood Association. I'm also involved with Affordable Dividends, which is a coalition of neighbors trying to make things that are more affordable. And I feel like I could talk on every slide that you presented tonight, but I'll just have 2 main points. I think, well, first of all, I hope that this is really an opportunity to provide community input and not just get our questions answered yes or no, right? Because this is like both community meetings, and like Valerie outlined, you know, we really want the community involved in these types of processes. So I'm glad to hear that this is being slowed down a little bit in your timeline. This isn't going to go live in spring 2016, hopefully. So my questions were the Planning Commission approval. Is there an opportunity there? Can the Planning Commission change anything in this plan before it goes to the Land Use Committee? Can the Planning Commission reject this plan altogether?
The Planning Commission is an advisory body of the Board of Supervisors, so they can write whatever they want, and then the board will consider their advice. So the Planning Commission can advise 10 stories, 0 stories, do it all, do some of it, and the board will then take that advice.
Great. So I think that's an opportunity for the community to help shape this program as well as going to the commission hearing and speaking to the commissioners prior to that hearing to make sure that our concerns are being heard. I think there's an opportunity for the notification, neighborhood notification process to be improved.
Yes.
As I mentioned, I'm involved in these two organizations, and Kirsten, I called you a couple weeks ago with lots of detailed questions about this program. And knowing a little bit of the planning code and going into the weeds, it's difficult to really understand what's going on. And today I learned a lot. I would suggest so for Alamo Square, for example, we have a P.O. box, and I try to check it every week. We have someone else try to check it every week. It just doesn't happen. We're normal people. We're volunteers. We're just community members volunteering our time. So sometimes the mailbox goes unchecked 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. You go and check your mailbox, there's a stack of planning notices. Some are in your neighborhood, some aren't in your neighborhood, some are the Art and Theater. You find out about these things kind of last minute. Whereas, I'm getting emails from the Planning Commission, MTA, about all these other projects that are happening in the neighborhood. I'm not the Planning Commission, the Police Commission. I'm just wondering if there's a way to incorporate emails into the notification process. And if this could kind of be the impetus for that, because since it's affecting such a huge part of the city, it would be great to notify at least the neighborhood associations that are, already formed, that something is happening in the neighborhood under this plan.
I have a suggestion on that too. The supervisor I know has an email list because we get the newsletter. It seems to me that really important issues like this could maybe get a special email to at least everybody on the supervisor's email list.
Well, and yes, but also at all of our neighborhood, because we have a lot of neighborhood groups in District 5, we're very strong, very active. One of the things I found out just the other day from actually a developer that sent out notices is that neighborhood groups have to update their contact list. This is what's been happening in D5, is even Hayes Valley Neighborhood Association, who's very active, had their president that was like 2 or 3 presidents ago as their contact. So they didn't know about the meeting. So we really need, I know that everybody's a volunteer, especially the neighborhood groups, but we need them to update with planning of who that should be sent to. And Gus, if you have someone on your board that says, hey, send it to me, I'll, get the emails and then make sure it goes out, that's a way to do it. I know some neighborhood groups do that. But really keeping planning updated of who is the contact point person, because even when we send things out, people miss it. It's just the way it is. People get so many emails.
It's definitely a two-way street.
Yeah.
And I think there's just opportunities,
Absolutely.
at least to add email as a notification.
We can look at in terms of the neighborhood notification on specific projects, like buildings.
Yeah.
We can look, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know the legal remedy.
The other opportunity I wanted to identify, this is my last comment, and then maybe if there's time after we can talk more. But, so I heard about, and I'm sorry about all the percentages that you're throwing out, it's a little confusing. The 30% of your income that goes towards rent or whatever it is, the amount you paid for living in a space. It sounded like, is there like a regulation? Is this a law? Can this program change that to like 25% or 20%? Something that's actually maybe somewhat affordable to like single, people having, one source of income It seems like a lot to ask
It's
for
household.
We
30%.
would love for that to be the case, but it's a federal regulation that's set by HUD. So it is.
So we're San Francisco, right? We can pave the way.
I'd love to do that, but they set the standard across the whole country. And then there's all these different factors that make it more localized. And so, but the 30% standard is set by the federal government. And so.
That's just really too bad, I think. I think it's really high for, especially families that have one income. You know,
And
it's
people
even-
that live in public housing, very, very low income housing, have to pay 30%.
Yeah.
So.
No, I know. I just think it seems like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is gross income, so it's not, it just it seems like a lot of money for,
To visit.
not everyone can afford that.
Absolutely. Leaning back, you're up next. You're on deck.
Several questions. Soft sides, you said 250, but those are the ones that you said 5% being used, 5% being used. But because of the incentives, 2-story above existing, if you have a 2-story building on a lot, and you could go with the existing 4 stories, you go 6 stories. That's quite a bit of incentive, I think, for developers. And I've heard many people saying that this bonus plan is a bonus for developers to develop, and that it's going to cause a lot of demolition. And so I think there are 250 soft sites. It's very misleading because of the incentives. I think there would be much more demolition type things going on. So do you have any response to that?
I mean, I would just say that, and maybe this didn't come across when we were showing the sites of the vacant lots, but we double-checked that methodology. We looked back at Eastern Neighborhoods and Market Octavia, those places where we not only density decontrolled, but actually upzoned a lot. We rezoned. We just completely redid those neighborhoods. And in those places, we're not seeing demolition of buildings, or we're not seeing people choosing to demo small residential or commercial buildings if it's less than the 5%.
For example,
And those are places where the market is even hotter. People want to move near BART, they want to move near transit.
for example, if you develop 10 units, 10 condos, and the condos are going for what, $700,000-$800,000, on the low end. That times 10, that's like $7 or $8 million, right? I mean, I would think that's incentive for some developer to.
The other thing, Roshi, that we talked a lot about at both of our informational hearings at the Planning Commission is the process of removing a unit in San Francisco. The process of removing a residential unit in San Francisco is pretty difficult. It's very different than other cities. When you propose to remove a residential unit in San Francisco, you have to come to the Planning Commission and give reasons why. So there's a very high bar to remove at least one residential unit. So that often goes into the thinking when somebody is maybe looking at developing a site. And we did a lot of research in looking at when those units get demolished. And a lot of them are actually what we call mergers, 2 units being merged into one larger unit.
I'm talking about mergers. But anyway, what I'm saying is that the soft side estimate is exceedingly low.
So just to synthesize your point, you're saying that the 240 soft sites, that it could be more than that.
Could be thousands.
It could also be less than the 240 as well, but I understand your point.
But the incentive is pretty high. Okay, now, also in regard to what you said that the NAPA case is a mandatory state law, and you're implying that San Francisco has to act immediately or else they're going to be in big, big trouble. But I think if you compare what's going on in other jurisdictions, other counties, they haven't done diddly.
Actually,
San Mateo, what?
Most of the counties have introduced it.
no, most of the counties have had it since like the 80s.
Most of them have already introduced it, so.
What?
Most counties have already introduced it and are using it actively.
You mean the state plan?
Yes.
Correct.
But not anything that's going to allow 22 stories.
You don't
or
want
3 story
to use the
increase.
state plan. You don't want to use the
You're
state
correct
plan.
that the local program is unique to San Francisco. Other municipalities like LA and
in regards to the selection of tenants and also the selection of buyers. If you have a project, that's up to the owner. They can select who they want. They can select
It's typically done by a
cousins
lottery. Typically done by a lottery, and also because of the ordinance that the mayor introduced, that the board made adjustments to. Supervisor Breed's office certainly took the lead on it. We have 40% of the units, are going to be available for preferences for neighborhood residents within the district. So there is a very good chance that the units that are created will benefit the local communities where.
And just to
So you
clarify,
want to project?
the mayor's office runs these lotteries.
Did that law pass? Is that law?
It did, yeah. It's been signed into law as well. So that's a big help, because this is, in terms of keeping people in neighborhoods, this is an important strategy to help keep people within the city and within the neighborhoods that they love.
So what you're saying is that the affordable units in any private project, it goes into a lottery, and the owner doesn't select the tenant or
In most cases, it's done by a lottery, and in most cases, the selection process goes through the mayor's office of housing.
What's the most? What's the exceptions?
There are some instances upon re-rental where you may have, the owner has the ability to do first come, first serve. So it's not 100% or always a lottery, but in almost all cases it is.
Okay, last question. You said those questions asked to you about the size of the units. You said that the DBI determines that. Can you provide an answer to that? Because
Yeah, I already committed to, what's your name, sorry?
Mine?
Yeah. Dennis. I was like, that's Gus, who's that? I've already committed to Dennis that I'll get back to the group on specifically what DBI says on this issue and make it crystal clear what the limitations are for unit size.
We'll post it to we have an FAQ on our website, and then we keep updating, so we'll post it there. 'Cause we legally can't email people.
We have a queue, so we'll go through the queue. Go ahead.
Well, a couple of things, except for this beautiful building, we're actually sort of in ground zero of city planning failure. Just because this is presented as a good idea and a new way to solve all the problems in the city, or at least take them on, I'm not convinced, because this entire neighborhood got bulldozed as a way to solve all the problems in the city, and we're still living through that. Not me, I moved here, but there are people who were displaced who still want to come back 50 years ago. So there's some doubt that because the city planner says it's a good idea, that it is a good idea, or a group of city planners or whatever. But I have a couple other questions that are actually sort of more to the point. One is, does anyone actually think that the city's infrastructure can handle this? We know, Central City also is actually a good example, although it's outside of this. That's basically a sewer when it rains. An open sewer with the street. And they're planning on putting in a building there, a building that I very much would like to have go in there. But my daughter takes music there, and they closed the place down last year because crack came up through the ground. That place is way overdeveloped. It's also not a good spot in the city geographically. But other infrastructure issues like the buses. The 31, I live on Alpharetta. The 31, I can ride to my daughter's school in 5 minutes. If I took the 31, that would take me an hour somewhere. And they're planning on putting more driveways onto this busy street. There's literally no way that the existing infrastructure of the city can handle it. Not even counting our water connections that we have to maintain. You have to cut your water use by 20%. That 20% of the population, perfect. So I think that there are infrastructure questions that need to actually be answered first, probably last. I don't drive, so I don't really care about the roads that much. If you do ride a bike. But I got to tell you, Hayes Valley is one of the biggest disasters in city planning that I've come across in quite a while. You look at that Arcadia crap, and you've got cars that can't go anywhere. I'm just zipping by. And you look at Hayes Street. Why people want to drive there, I don't know, but they do. I was practically guaranteed by a city planner at Sunday Streets that, these people will all get out, they'll all sell the cars, and all walk, and occasionally use the car share. Well, maybe the BMR people will, but the people who spend $1,200 a square foot for a condo, they're entitled to the BMW and Maserati. They are. It's just true. and they will have it, and they will drive it. We know this. Look at the traffic. And if they don't, they use an Uber, which drives them somewhere else. So the city literally cannot handle this.
So there's,
Okay, so there's that issue, but there's also the issue of
Infrastructure.
The infrastructure issue is a very significant one, but there's also the issue of distribution. I mean, I know that the city has different zoning, but we also know that the planning commission can go up zone and the board of supervisors can go up zone. So why don't we actually up zone in the places that are not actually very densely populated, the ones that are RH1 or RH2? I mean, I'm not advocating for that, but it seems like that would be an issue that might actually be considered because if it's spread all that traffic for all those Google buses out of 19th Avenue, we wouldn't really see them.
so just a couple things on the infrastructure. In Valley, and Kirsten, please correct me if I'm wrong on this. So I know the board is looking at adding transportation fees for buildings, residential buildings that have 20 units or more. We were close to getting that passed for the board, and I know they're taking a look. But we're talking, the number associated with it, I think we're talking in the billions in terms of the amount of money it would generate for transportation efforts. In addition to that, but it's, you know, it's making sure that totally understand that it's an example of making sure that the residential units that are being created help pay for the infrastructure that we need. But I think it's a fair point also to point out, and this is just, you know, the way our systems work for better or for worse, is that the infrastructure does typically lag behind the residential development that we create. I think we've tried to figure out a way, and we're still trying to figure out ways of being able to link those closer and faster. But I don't think anybody's going to tell you that waving a magic wand that residential development and immediately there's going to be transportation improvements upon it. What we can do, what we will do as a result of this program, which remember will take about 20 years to ramp up. And we're talking about, you know, as opposed to some of the other parts of the city, it's a smaller percentage of density that's being created. These fees and other things that are coming will have an impact in terms of the servicing that we're going to be doing in the area, regardless of whether there's density. And I would recommend that you talk with the supervisors and others to make sure that the fees are spread around as equitable as possible, in particular in areas where we're seeing these changes as opposed to with this program.
I just want to add that the impact fees are not the only funding source. The impact fees are part of what the controller and the city's capital planning agency put together for an entire transportation package.
Right.
The voters in this room supported 2 bonds last year. There are a number of other new transportation revenue sources. I think the city is pretty much neck and neck fighting over resources. Is it for housing? Is it for transportation? Is it for housing? Those are the top 2 things because we're seeing so many new people come to the city. And also, just a sidebar, the issue at 17th and Folsom is actually bad drainage because of the stormwater, and they're going to put a new thing underneath the park, and then they're going to build a park on 17th and Folsom and affordable housing.
When I worked at 18th and Folsom 12 years ago, water was literally up to somebody's waist.
You know why?
Absolutely.
It's the lowest spot.
Right. It has nothing to do with density. It has to do with
And it has something to do with density as well, because there's also sewage, and if you add more sewage to it, it's going to
I used to live around the corner from where the site's going, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
But it hasn't been fixed.
Kirsten is bringing up the real improvements that are going to come as a result.
Yeah, so basically, the park was meant to be built, and before the park could be built, we wanted to put a cistern, that's the word I can't remember.
I didn't know the right word to
A
use. so
cistern
glad you
underneath
came
the
up
park,
with
so they delayed the park so the PUC could design that, and that is meant to be like a water storage area,
Yeah.
so that then the flooding will not happen, and we'll all get to go to our music class
Flooding
and
won't
our
happen,
coffee shops.
it's the lowest spot in the city.
No, but the cistern will, yeah, okay.
So if we could go to this gentleman who's been waiting patiently.
Yes.
Just a quick answer on infrastructure. We also have to guarantee that they're drinking water for these people.
Okay.
Well, there are so many problems with the program that's up there. BMR, I think, is a political quagmire.
Okay.
There's no way that people in my town, and there are thousands of us, are going to be treated fairly and our rents not go up drastically. In other words, just be displaced. There is an organization called the Coalition for San Francisco Neighborhoods. You can find their website. You can find the 44 neighborhood groups that are on it with their emails. I would like you to guarantee us tonight that you will notify all of them of the remaining and future meetings in every supervisory district. As far as I know, there's only been 3 meetings of this kind. That doesn't begin to cover the whole city and everybody who's affected by this.
And we presented to them twice already.
I'm sorry?
We presented to the coalition twice.
You've notified everybody on the coalition?
We've gone to their meetings twice.
Prior to introduction and then.
George, did I miss those?
They had one real presentation, but they've been there twice.
And what George will also say is that it was because of the Business Times article. I remember you prompted us, and so we came out. So.
Well, yeah, because
Fairness.
no
Okay.
neighbor. What George will say is
let me finish my question. Let me finish. Okay, so I know that there's widespread concern that San Francisco state law requirement that we're hearing about all of a sudden being thrust on us when I think most of us did not have any idea this was going to be happening with this level of impact. So how are the other Bay Area communities meeting the need to comply with this state law?
So by and large, most municipalities in California already.
No, the Bay Area.
Yeah. So
Including the Bay
Name
Area.
some cities. Be specific.
Berkeley,
Oakland, Berkeley,
San
Emeryville.
Jose.
And what are they doing? What are they doing that's comparable to what you're asking us to do?
They all have a state density bonus ordinance already adopted.
And to increase height limits like this?
It allows for increased density when you provide affordable housing.
Berkeley,
Oakland,
the
San
red
Jose,
state capital of
there we
America,
go.
known as Berkeley.
so Muni is in crisis. I don't think the mission, I said this before, somewhat. Muni,
I can give you the list. I think we do.
Muni is in crisis. I don't think the mission can handle the density you're asking us and other neighborhoods to take. And I don't think I'm alone in that opinion. Muni, you fix Muni, and maybe in years from now you can come back and say the infrastructure will handle it. The infrastructure won't handle it. You're just trying to have us live in an unlivable city increasingly.
Fair enough. Appreciate it. Is there?
Are there people that haven't actually gotten to talk that want to speak?
Aren't you from the mayor's office? So what?
Hey, Hiroshi,
Here on transit.
Hold on one second, Hiroshi.
Why can't you get the mayor here on transit? That's horrible, that transit has to catch up to housing. We can't just keep building.
You know, it's getting to 9 o'clock, so there's a couple people that actually haven't spoken. I'm going to have them chime
I
in.
haven't spoken in 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So you, and then you, and then we'll start, and then you.
Hey, I'm a D5 resident. I'm with the San Francisco Bay Area Renters Federation. It's great.
This name.
It's exciting, and thank you for coming out and giving a presentation. I think, on the other hand, it's a tragedy in a way that we're having to supplement 110, 140 AMI, when the focus really should be on lower income residents. And the reason that's the case is because we aren't building enough. And I just wanted to express that people of this viewpoint who want a denser community, not just for the affordability, but for environmental reasons, lower carbon use, water use, better support for public transportation, are also community members. As a part, would love to, we're involved in MAP 2020 Commission, would love to be more involved in the D5 work. And yeah, that's, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank those of you who presented tonight. I think you did a pretty good job with a difficult crowd. But I think that this is really, it's one of many tools that I know you guys have. And I am an architect for those of you who want to attack me for what it's worth. The planning process is not easy. It's not easy to demolish a building. It's not easy to build a new one. It's next to impossible if you want to try going through it. This program, I think, is just another tool in the toolbox that tries to solve affordability. And I think we need to do everything we can to build more housing, more capacity. Because people are coming if we want to or not.
Great. Thank you. Kathy?
I'm ceding my 2 minutes to Mr. Wooding. You wanted 2 more minutes?
Oh, no, well, no. I wanted to go back to the point of infrastructure failing. I think Nick was right. Over the next 10 years, Muni is projected to have a $3.3 billion deficit. They have several taxes. The TSF tax you just talked about is $7.60 a square foot, and will add about to a 750 a square foot building, about $5,800 to go towards the Muni system. It cannot go faster than the car in front of it. So you have that situation where Muni is not getting better. It's getting slower, it's getting worse. The sewage system is also failing. The road level, after we've spent millions in bonds, is going down to the lowest level ever. But really the transportation system, where everything is based on transportation corridors, being near BART. BART is failing right now. If you're to read anything about BART, there are several signs of the infrastructure being frayed and not being able to handle the current growth, and the city not being able to fund it on any comparable level. On top of that, just for kicks, they're now introducing childcare as part of square footage costs at $1.58 a square foot. So on top of the transportation cost, you'll now be paying for childcare as well throughout the city. So this seems to be the new hidden, it's not a fee, it's a tax, whatever you guys want to call it, it's a tax. So you're going to see several things in these buildings being built that are all of a sudden, someone's going to have to pay an extra $20,000 for the privilege of living in one of these units, because the city is so underfunded, because they have so many high-priced employees. They have to use money no longer to pay for infrastructure. They need bonds. So anyhow, that's just my 2 minutes.
Great.
Very good.
I skipped 10 by accident, I'm sorry.
Thank you for presenting this. It's a good sketch of the design of the city for what needs to be done to increase affordable housing. I get that. What is left begging is the details of how a lot of these things are going to be implemented. And without those details, it becomes very vague, and you'll get increased reluctance for people to sign on to support this. With those details, it'll give a much clearer picture of how the mechanisms work underneath all of this to make this happen. That's missing, and I think it's a crucial piece. You really are ill-prepared to go before the commission and ask for public input to pass it before you have those details.
So that's very, I hear you. I would say, though, that if you look at the website, whether it's feasibility analysis or a whole number of other departments, including legislation itself, I haven't seen this much transparency in terms of all the input that goes into the program compared with other large initiatives. So I think we've tried to be as transparent as possible, put all the materials up on the website for people to look at. But so if
Ted
there's
has
any...
been doing this homework all week. He's been writing to me, being like, what is this, what is that?
So any very specific things, it sounds like you're addressing them in Kirsten, and that's the right place to go.
Yeah. Okay. I also wanted to acknowledge the Senate Fox, so for those of you that are just being polite, I won't think it's rude if you leave. And then we'll do sort of these three, Dennis, Gus, and then
I
Roshi.
just have a quick question. I want to reiterate what I think Lotus, and she left early on, and she said that she really urged that you reach out to the surrounding community around here, because I'm surprised that there doesn't appear to be anybody who lives in this area who definitely, I'm sure, many of them could use some of this affordable housing. They should be here to hear this and be able to address it. So I would ask you, will you reach out and do another one?
So, I mean, again, I encourage all of you also to reach out to your neighbors and have them sign up for our notification list. That's how we legally can notify people of our meetings. So I would put the onus also on everyone here for our next meeting to get people to come out that you knew weren't able to attend or didn't know about the meeting. I think someone said it's a two-way street, so it's helpful for us when you also help us with outreach.
But yes, we're doing everything we can. We're shouting into every megaphone we have at our disposal.
And also there's some different things that are going on in this community that we'll be tagging along to get with other meetings, because that's a way to get people out here. I think some people around this, when you heard about this, didn't come out, but other meetings that are happening, like the meetings that are happening on regarding the Buchanan Mall, this is tagging onto those meetings is much more effective than having these kind of meetings with this neighborhood.
Definitely, I was just going to say the same thing. I hope we have another District 5 meeting seen on the program area map that where District 3, District 5 both seem to be kind of the heavily impacted districts of this program. Not so much District 6, maybe District 10, is it? Maybe Cohen's district. But 3 and 5 definitely scream out blue on that map. And at least another meeting in our district, I think would be great. I know that I've signed up to your notification list to receive the notification of this meeting myself.
We need 1 and 9 too.
And the other thing I just wanted to comment on, I think the people here tonight expressed a lot of great ideas, a lot of legitimate concerns. I don't think we were a challenging crowd necessarily. Just wanted to make that statement myself. I think we had some really great ideas and a good discussion. And like I said, I learned a lot. I hope everyone else did too.
And I'll just add, I think, in terms of, so the study area is large in the district, but also in terms of some of it includes some of the Western Addition co-ops, the former redevelopment areas that have their own, very specific restrictions on the use of those sites. And so some of those sites will largely not apply for this program. And I think that's just worth pointing out, particularly given we're in this neighborhood with its history. I think we have to acknowledge that.
I'm just looking at the comment form, since I can't fill this out now. Could we maybe have an address that we can mail it to, or just have you fill it out?
Yeah.
I mean, like, specific, I know where, generally, it's a specific person or.
There's is it age? No, age, email, or.
Oh, yeah.
Like the physical, like this.
Yeah, probably, I have a scan any kind of fashion, so I would probably, yeah.
So do we have a physical address that we can send?
I have an office.
I was going to say, it's City Hall, but somehow like
60
takes 3 extra weeks to reach like
That is
that.
right up here. So you